Look, let's be honest. The Giants' offense has not been good this year. And Mike Kafka is going to be on the hot seat entering the offseason. So I want to ask this question before we dive into today's show to talk about potential Mike Kafka replacements. Do you think the Giants should fire Kafka? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm curious what the real ones think. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody stopping by and hanging out with us for a couple of minutes as we talk about five potential coaches, that I would like to see be in the mix as the next Giants offensive coordinator if Big Blue decides to move on from its current offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka. Kafka has not been fired yet. There has been reports that the Giants will move on from him after the season, but we will find out soon enough. Let's just kind of look at the rear view mirror before we look at the windshield. The offense this year was awful. Like, let's call a spade a spade. You're 31st in points per game, 31st in yards per game, the worst passing offense in the league by yards metrics, and you're middle of the pack in rushing yards. And I'm not even really believing that this is even a middle of the pack rushing offense because I watch this team every week. It's very basic. Everything is a 2 or 3 yard run. And you're running in passing situations, which I feel like is kind of inflating that number a little bit. And you just have a really talented back in Saquon Barkley. These are your generic, everybody talks about these stats, right? I want to look at, I hate calling them advanced stats, but it's a little bit deeper than the broad numbers, right? Things that I think win football games. How good are you on third down? How good are you in the red zone? How good are you on first downs? Like, how often do you get first downs? And how good are you in the first quarter? Because in the first quarter, you only get, 3 drives max, probably 2 drives, and your first drive is scripted. That's why I think that's important. Third down percentage. The Giants are getting a first down on just 29.4% of their third down opportunities. That's 31st in the NFL. Red zone TD percentage. How good are you punching it in when the field shrinks and you're literally beating another team off of schemes and schematics? They score touchdowns at just 44% of their red zone drives. That's 30th in the NFL. They only pick up 15 first downs a game. 31st in the league. And you average 1.4 points per first quarter. Last in the league. That's a scripted drive. You should be able to manufacture points. The Giants have not scored a touchdown on an opening drive this year. Honestly, I don't think they've scored an offensive touchdown in the first quarter this year. Not 100% calling that a fact, but I can't really remember one. This is not all on Mike Kafka, though. Brian Daboll is the head coach. He was brought here to be the offensive coordinator. He deserves some of the blame as well. And let's just, evaluate everything. You're on your third quarterback. You've had more offensive line combinations than anybody in the NFL. Not a lot of talent, a lot of injuries, but it comes down to your offensive coordinator. I will say this. I like some of the things that Mike Kafka has done. I believe that he is a guy that could develop a quarterback. I saw him do it last year with Daniel Jones. He created a game plan and a way of playing football that made the Giants competitive with a limited quarterback. He once again did that this year with Tyrod Taylor, where they almost beat the Buffalo Bills, had the ball at the 1 yard line, and he did that for 3 games with an undrafted free agent rookie quarterback in Tommy DeVito. So I've seen him make life somewhat easy now on 3 quarterbacks, which makes me believe if you drafted a young rookie quarterback, Mike Kafka would be a good offensive coordinator to have. And that makes me not all aboard on firing Kafka. I don't think he should be the guy, but I'm not just standing up here and saying fire Kafka, fire Kafka, fire Kafka. I do think they will do it, and I think it is probably deserved, but I think he's done at least a decent enough job before you just say fire him to sit back and think, well, I can't forget about the Vikings playoff game. I know they're the worst defense in NFL history, but he still had Daniel Jones put up 30 points on the road and win a playoff game. But he is not going to, in my opinion, remain as the OC, whether he leaves or the Giants end up firing him. So what are they going to do? Well, let's talk about 5 guys that could replace Kafka if he is no longer the offensive coordinator going into the 2024 season. To be honest, I think there's only one man for the job, and it's not who you think it might be. So we'll break that down. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because if the Giants fire Mike Kafka, we will make a video. If the Giants make any moves this offseason, we're going to make a video. We're going to have a video out on this channel every single day throughout the offseason. I can promise you that. So subscribe for free content throughout the offseason every single day. And help us get to 41,000 subscribers. We're less than 250 away. It's a huge, 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 huge accomplishment. And I want you to be a part of it. My number one Mike Kafka replacement is your current head coach, Brian Daboll, the guy that you hired to fix the offense because of what he did as the Buffalo Bills play caller, for what he did as the offensive mind behind the Buffalo Bills, for what he did as he developed Josh Allen, the young, raw, talented quarterback that came into the draft. Brian Daboll should be the offensive coordinator and the play caller for the New York Giants in the 2024 season. And I understand why he didn't want to be when he first got here, because he said, I want to focus on being a head coach. He had never been a head coach before. And there was probably a lot of things that he knew he was going to have to handle that he never had to juggle before. But it's year 3 now. And all of the great teams in the NFL have their head coach, who is an offensive mind, become a play caller. Andy Reid, head coach, play caller. Kyle Shanahan, head coach, play caller. Sean McVay, head coach, play caller. And the list goes on, from Zach Taylor to Mike McCarthy to Kevin Stefanski to Doug Peterson to Sean Payton to Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell. The great offensive minds stick around in this league for what they're able to do. And what Brian Daboll does best is call plays. That's why he was hired as the Giants offensive head coach. It wasn't because he was a game manager. It wasn't because he was an elite, clock manager guy. It was because of what he was able to do as the play caller for the Bills. And it's time to start the Brian Daboll evaluation. We're entering year 3. Year 1 was awesome. Year 2 was a disaster class. Let's be honest. I think Daboll's the guy, but he had a horrible year as the head coach for a lot of reasons. So if he has another bad year in year 3, you got to start asking if he's the guy going forward. And I think the way that he can remain the future, the guy for the now and the future of the head coach of the New York Football Giants is to become the play caller. The Buffalo Bills, when he was the play caller, were consistently one of the best offenses in the National Football League. That's why he got this job. That's why in the 2022 head coach search, he was the top dog. Go save your team. Go save your team and go save your career as a head coach in the NFL. Because right now, your back's against the wall. The evaluation has started. And I think the way that you can help yourself is going and calling plays and doing a damn good job of it. Do you want Brian Daboll to call plays next year for our New York Football Giants? I want to hear from you down in the comment section. Type 1 for yes. Type 2 for no. For me, it's 100% I'm typing my ones. He's the only guy outside of Mike Kafka I want calling the plays. He has a relationship with the quarterback on the roster, if it's Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito, and I've seen what he could do with a young quarterback in Josh Allen. And if I'm drafting a QB, I want him to be in lockstep with my head coach. Brian Daboll should be the only guy as the offensive coordinator next year. If it's not Brian Daboll, the next guy I think that should get this job is Ken Dorsey, the former offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He was with Brian Daboll in Buffalo from 2019 to 2021. He has a great relationship with Brian Daboll, and we have heard from multiple reports that Daboll is extremely hard on his coordinators. And if you're going to be hard on your coordinators, you need to have a good, solid working and friendly relationship with them to where they know what to expect. Also, Brian Daboll wanted to hire Ken Dorsey in the summer of 2022 as the Giants offensive coordinator before he went and got elevated from the quarterback coach to the OC. Dorsey obviously was fired earlier this season from Buffalo. But in 2022, when Ken Dorsey was the offensive coordinator, the year after Brian Daboll left, the Bills' offense was one of the best in the NFL. Second in points per game, second in yards per game, top 10 in passing yards and rushing yards per game. If it's not going to be Mike Kafka and it's not going to be Brian Daboll, I want to see Ken Dorsey get that job. I think the relationship with Daboll and the fact that they're schematically on the same page would be the best next option, in my opinion. We got 3 more guys to talk about, but first, I want to tell you guys about our proud sponsor of today's show, PrizePicks. Go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use the promo code CLNS. When you use that, you'll get a $100 match up to your first deposit. PrizePicks is the #1 way to play daily fantasy sports, and it is the easiest way. PrizePicks creates a stat total for every single player, and all you do is select more or less on those stats. You create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply do that. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. All right, I understand some people may not like this next one, but you know what? I think it's pretty dang obvious. Eric Bieniemy is a good play caller. He is a good offensive mind, and he has worked in multiple spots. He's a hard-nosed coach, has a hard-nosed approach, and I think that fits with a guy like Brian Daboll. Eric Bieniemy kind of reminds me of the offensive coordinator version of Wink Martindale in a sense. You got a really strong, established DC in Wink. Eric Bieniemy has proven that he can call plays with the best of them. He's unlikely to be hired as Washington's head coach, as they are probably going to get rid of their entire staff. And I like how he has developed Sam Howell, the quarterback for the Commanders, and put him in a position to succeed. What about this? Everyone talked about it wasn't going to be a big deal when Eric Bieniemy left the Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy didn't call plays. All he did was have a large say-so in the offensive game plan every week. Well, the Chiefs went from the number one offense when Eric Bieniemy was the play caller for them to now a fringe top 10 offense, and they are now one of the worst fourth quarter and second half offenses in the National Football League. He's been in big games. He's worked around Andy Reid. He's developed a guy like Patrick Mahomes, even if they don't have a strong relationship, and he's gotten the most out of a lot of players, and he's had a whole lot of success in this league. And for me, that means a lot. I understand there's some off-the-field baggage. I understand some people don't like him. You know what? I don't care about that. Get the best guy for the job, and Eric Bieniemy should be in that conversation. Who would you rather have as the OC, though? Is it Ken Dorsey, or is it Eric Bieniemy? Type KD for Ken Dorsey, EB for Bieniemy. I would go with Dorsey over Bieniemy due to the relationship playing a huge part in that with Daboll. But man, what else does the guy have to prove? I think he's done a pretty good job everywhere he's went. I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Byron Leftwich, former quarterback, in the National Football League, was the offensive coordinator for the Bucs when they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. He's been in big games. He's come up with winning game plans in those big games. Did he benefit from having Tom Brady? Absolutely. But I also think that helps with him going forward in other jobs. He was fired by the Bucs in 2022, and if the Giants are going to draft a quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft, I think having a guy that's played that position in the NFL, had some success, and then won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator helps for the maturation and development of that player. Leftwich is a guy that I would absolutely have on the top of my list as a potential Mike Kafka replacement. A guy that I do like a lot and has been getting a lot of buzz around the National Football League is Darrell, Bevell, the quarterback coach for the Miami Dolphins. He has done a great job with Tua Tagovailoa, and he is one of the top names to get an offensive coordinator job this offseason, and he's been in the NFL since 2000. He's seen it all. He's done it all. Went from an assistant QB coach in Green Bay to the QB coach. Then he went from the QB coach in Green Bay to the offensive coordinator in Minnesota for 4 seasons. Then the offensive coordinator for Seattle for 6 seasons. Then an offensive coordinator season with the Detroit Lions. He got elevated to their interim head coach. 2 times he's been an interim head coach for the Lions and the Jags. And now he's the assistant QB coach for the Miami Dolphins. I like what he's done with Tua. I think learning from a guy like Mike McDaniel, looking at the game kind of through a different lens, it means a lot, and I think he's put in the work to get an opportunity like this. Love the experience, love all the different stops, and I like the fact that he's a proven winning coordinator in this league. We gave you 5 guys to keep your eyes on. Who do you want to be the Giants OC next year? Is it Kafka? Is it Daboll? Is it Dorsey? Is it Leftwich? Is it Bevell? Is it someone out there that we did not mention? Give me a name of somebody you want to be the OC next year, and I'll do some more research on them, and maybe we'll do a Mike Kafka replacements part 2. As always, just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for tuning in to Giants Now by Chat Sports. If you haven't yet, give me a follow on Twitter, @MarshallGreen_. I'm trying to talk more Giants football over there, and I want to do it with some real ones. Send me a DM and give me a follow, @MarshallGreen_.